welcome back to my channel. Today I bring you a video that I find quite interesting to make, and I'm just excited about that, and that is a chat in the Archeron Sisters. With the upcoming release of A Court of Silver Flames, I just want to think a little bit more about these girls because all their interactions are very complicated and they have had a very complicated life, and you know, the book it's mostly centered around Nesta, so I think diving a little bit into her relationship with her sisters and her own life will be a little bit of an interesting thing to do before getting into the book. So yeah, that's basically what's gonna happen in this video. Just so you know, it has been really windy around here. Right now it's pretty calm, but I don't know if it's gonna stay like that. So if you hear a lot of wind, it's because of that. A lot of noise, it's that. But yeah, aside from that, let's get into the video. What I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna kind of state what has happened in the lives of all the sisters, like a biography of everything that we know has happened before and through the books. So it's gonna be pretty spoilery if you haven't read the first 4 books in the series. Definitely do that before watching this video. But if you have and you're completely caught up, don't worry, it's gonna be fine and fun. And after stating all of that and kinda reminding ourselves what has happened, I'm gonna dwell a little bit into the characters of each sister and their relationship with each other. So yeah, we have a lot to do and I don't want this video to be super long, so let's get started. First of all, let's remember that they are the 3 daughters of a very wealthy merchant at the beginning of their lives. Nesta is the older, then you have Elaine, who is like about 2 years younger, and then you have Feyre, who is the youngest of the 3 sisters. They live a very, you know, posh life for the beginning of their lives, and everything is fine. They have their father, and they have a pretty nice relationship with him. He's a caring father, and they have their mother, who is stated to be a little bit colder and harsher than, you know, the father and that you would expect. Yeah, so it's a nice life. And then their mother gets sick and she dies when they are pretty young. Not a specific age for any of them, but they were pretty young at that point. And a little bit after that, their father loses all their money in debt, and they have to move from their very wealthy big mansion to a little cottage at the edge of the forest that divides the human lands from the Fae lands. So they have passed from being very wealthy to be very poor. And before her mother dies, Pharaoh is made to make a promise to her mother to take care of her sisters. So she was young, but I would think that she was a little old as well, 9 or 11 years old, something around there. And it's a very heavy burden to put into a young girl's shoulders, but it's what happens. And after they lose everything, their father is very shattered from that because it's his fault, and I guess he feels very guilty about it, and he just withers away. He doesn't do a lot. So Feyre is the one that has to take the responsibility to fulfill her mother's promise and to, you know, train herself to hunt and to be able to provide for her sisters and her father, which neither of them are doing much of anything to help in that. Nesta is super angry at their dad and does nothing, and Elaine is just kind of following everyone's lead, and they treat Feyre pretty bad. And life goes on like that for a while until Feyre is in a very bad situation and she's made to go to the Feylands in order to pay a debt, a life debt that now she has with the Spring Higher Lord. And in that doing so, her family is provided for, they can move back to a big house and have all the nice comforts, which completely transforms their father and Elaine into these very nice people because now they have money again and they can do what they like to do. And Nesta is not exactly comfortable with this style of life. She never really liked it, to be, you know, all posh and all of that, so she's not exactly happy, but they have comfort and nobody has to worry anymore. Feyre will go through a lot of trials in the Feylands, and In doing so, she's pretty shattered after very traumatic experiences and being mentally and physically abused in the Feylands. And in Akomath, she has to return and ask her sisters to put their house to be a base of operation for their plans for the war that it's upcoming. Now that she has been remade after the ending of Akotar, her sisters are still pretty much human, and Elaine is engaged to a lord that claims to love her very much, and she definitely loves him very much. Nesta is reluctant because she wants to protect her sister from being associated with Faye, but Elaine accepts, and she also apologizes to Pharaoh in a very impersonal way because it's very much in front of everyone else from the inner circle, and she's just like, okay, we were pretty terrible people, but we are sorry, or I'm sorry about that, but it's very impersonal and just like a once-over. After that, both sister Nesta and Elaine are kidnapped by the king of Hybern and forced to become Fae, which is an incredibly traumatic experience for both the sisters, and they are both into a great state of shock and very traumatized. Nesta cannot go into small spaces or take baths anymore, and Elaine loses her fiance in a very horrific way, if I have to be honest about that little part. But they're very traumatized now, and Elaine is just this very sad person that is completely consumed by her grief. And Nesta is pretty close off, which is not strange, but she does find a little bit of purpose in planning through the war and doing stuff to help for the war, which helps her to start overcoming a lot of these things, finding the purpose. That is until their father is killed in front of Nesta, and that is very much traumatizing again and destroys the progress that has been able to be made by Nesta into healing. And Ellen ends up killing the king of Hybern, which it's a step off her very gloomy little bubble that she was involved in. So after that, Nesta just goes off completely into self-destructive mode, and yeah, that's pretty much where we are at. So having seen this very close over, very fast statement of the facts, we can get into each sister. They are all pretty different. Nesta is the more cold and calculated and close off of the sisters, the harder one, but she feels a lot. She just has built these very hard walls, which I guess she learned from their mother because she was also said to be very hard. Elaine is the more sunflowery kind of kid, and she's the sweet and kind, but she obviously has a lot of gloominess inside of her. And Favorite's kind of like the most balance of both. She's soft and kind, but she's also very strong. That she has a lot of self-esteem issues provoked by her very harsh upbringing, and that definitely goes into every interaction that they have. Pharaoh has had to step up a lot and how to take the responsibility in their lives, which made her grow up pretty fast. And Ellen was just kind of in denial about everything in her life going on and not taking an active point into doing anything to either further and better her position in life or making it worse. Nothing, she's just very passive as how she takes life. And then you have Nesta, who has been consumed by anger since she was very young. She gets very, very angry at her father and subsequently does nothing to help either better their situation because she wants to see if their father is gonna do something for them. And in doing so, she also does nothing to help and just makes things a lot worse and treats Pharaoh pretty meanly. But she also cares a lot about her sisters. She doesn't just really know how to express it in a more balanced way, I guess. She's very intense and she feels everything so much she doesn't really know how to process it. She has been hurt very much since she was younger. I guess the death of her mother has to have impacted her maybe a little bit stronger than her sisters, because she was the oldest. She had more time to interact with her, even if it wasn't the greatest relationship. So she must have felt that, and then she lost everything, and she has all the trauma that she never did anything with. She just kind of converted it, transformed it into anger, and put everything in anger, which is not the healthiest way to cope, but she does grow a lot, and she has a lot of potential to be such a very intense person, but fiercely independent and fierce, and she just takes that and doesn't know really what to do with that since the beginning of her life. And then more traumatic things happen to her, and she's made into a fae against her will. She starts to do something with that anger, with all that trauma, and put it into something positive, which is helping against the war, but that is again set back because her father dies in front of her in a horrible way, and she is again very traumatized and she doesn't know what to do with that. So she goes into self-destructive mode, because that's the only way she really knows how to deal with her trauma. She has a lot of anger, she has a lot of things that she hasn't dealt with, that she's just projecting to hurt everyone around her and isolate herself in a way to protect herself, which has always been her modus operandi. Then you have Elaine, who is absolutely passive in her life. She does nothing to better herself, to take control of what's happening to her. She seems to start to, realize that she needs to do something at the end of A Court of Wings and Ruin, when she kills the King of Highburn, because finally she's doing something for herself and for everyone around her, not just being very passive about things. And that's a step forward. Now she is just finding herself, but she does seem like she is shaking it off a little bit and stepping into a better place where she's gonna start doing something for herself, more than just being a little mantelpiece that it's pretty standing there. And then you have Pharaoh, who has always had to fight for everything and do everything herself, for her, for everyone around her, and she was very shattered. She's still picking up the pieces of her life, but she has found a group of people that have helped her put herself together, find her self-worth, find her betterment, and to be able to pick herself and start enjoying her life as she has never had the opportunity to do before. In a good place, she's finding herself in a good place where she can start to actually heal and enjoy her life and live, and not just try to survive as she has been doing for a very long time. So of all the three, definitely Fairy is the one that has had more time to deal with everything and to find herself in a stable situation. And it's finding her footing, because she's finally starting to put a little bit of work into that. And Nesta is just very consumed into everything that has happened to her. I am very, very, very intrigued by Nesta. I think she has a lot of potential to be this great and amazing character if she only manages to overcome her worst instincts. And we all have to do this at some point in our lives, and she just has to find herself to really discover who is Nesta, which I think she has never had the opportunity to actually do, and not be the little girl that is involved in society as she had to do when she was a little girl. And she's not the woman that is just trying to do nothing as she was in her teen years, and she has to find who she is, what she wants, and step out of this very, very bad place that she's in and start putting work into bettering herself. And this colors every relationship between the sisters, because from how they treated Pharaoh and how she was very isolated, to how they started to make truce at the middle of their story, if we may say, through A Court of Mist and Fury and A Court of Winds and Ruin, to this point where her relationship of Nesta and Pharaoh is completely shattered, and Ellen and Pharaoh are trying to find a common ground and are in a much better position, if not an optimal one. They are still pretty much messed up because they are still pretty much in pieces, and they don't know how to actually have a productive relationship as sisters. And I mentioned this before, but Nesta has never apologized to Pharaoh for how she treated her. Though I don't think that a verbal apology is exactly her style, she has tried to express her apologies through action, I think. But by everything that happened, I don't think that's absolutely enough. A little bit more needs to be done. And Elaine, as I said, did apologize, but it was a very general apology, not something personal or that felt incredibly sincere. It was just the start of an understanding of, what we did wasn't exactly cool. And I'm not saying that Pharaoh is the victim in everything, because she did what she could, and the sisters were also doing what they could, not saying that it was the best way to deal with things, but they need to accept their past and move forward, which I don't think they have managed to do, to get there, to come together to that realization. And there is something I also want to address as to how things are, because now Nesta is in a very isolated, very dark place, and she has had a very harsh wake-up call, I think, from Pharaoh, sending her to the war camps, which is what we're gonna see. And I know that some people think that that is very mean of Pharaoh, because she hasn't tried to help Nesta and she's just sending her away instead of trying to do something for her herself. And I just want to say that it's not exactly true. Just Pharaoh didn't exactly know how to help her sisters. She tried a little, but also didn't have the time or the mind space to truly do something about that. She is also enjoying her finally being happy, and I don't think you can really be mad at someone for finally enjoying their happiness. That is just something that everyone deserves, and she's happy and she's in a good place, and she has tried to help her sister, not in the best way, but she has tried her best, and now she is realizing that it's more than she can do and that she needs to help Nesta more, and she's sending her away. And this is a help, because even if she just got the money that she gives Nesta and she didn't give her money, I think Nesta is resourceful enough that she's in a place that she knows already pretty well. She has established some connections, and she's also the sister of the High Lady. So I'm pretty sure she could have managed to continue in her very self-destructive path that she was, even if she didn't have the money to, help her along. She's smart enough to be able to continue in this cycle of self-destructiveness that she is in. And the best thing that anyone would do to her is take her away from it and put her in a place where she is in a new place, in a very strict place, and she will have to have some order in her life and start figuring some things out. Not saying that it's gonna be a nice and easy ride, but it is a good start. It is a wake-up call that she definitely needed, and I do think that it was the best thing anyone could have done to her, because in the same place she was just gonna continue with these very destructive ways that she's doing. Definitely something that needed to happen, and she has so much to give. She just needs to find the way to be able to give it and to put herself together again, to be able to heal, which is something everyone deserves. Pharaoh has had the time to do that. Elaine is starting to be able to heal. And that's basically the journey that these three sisters are going through. They're going through a journey to putting themselves together, figuring themselves out, and healing, which is hard, which is different for every person. And I think it's beautiful that we have these three very different points of view that we are going to be able to see it through. And that is going to reflect in their relationship together, in how they interact, and until they are not in better places with themselves, I don't think they are going to be able to be in better places with each other. And that's just my little take up on how things are with the Archeron sisters, their journeys, and each character. I love most of them. Ellen, I'm not that particular fan of Ellen as of yet, but we'll see how that goes. But I do like their interactions, and I do like their complexity. I think Mas has done a great job in creating these complex characters that have so much to give and are so interesting. And this is my take on them in their journey and in their actions. You don't have to share them And if you don't, please tell me down below. I would love to see your point of view and what you think on each of these amazing girls. And yeah, it just makes me really excited for what's gonna happen on A Court of Silver Flames. And it's gonna be crazy, and it's gonna be hard, but it's gonna be rewarding, and I cannot wait for that to happen. So yeah, what are you most looking forward to A Court of Silver Flames? Tell me down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click the little bell icon so you can get notified every time I post a new video, and like this video if you enjoyed it. And follow me on my social media. I have Instagram and Goodreads where you can follow me and I can chat more with you. And I'll see you next week. Bye!